morning, good evening, whatever it is, wherever you're YouTube. So, been a little while, hasn't it? But it's time for another bike review. So, we're heading back over to our favourite Royal Enfield dealer, Cooper Motorcycles. Having a bit of an open day, got some interesting stuff going on, but more importantly, I'm going to be riding the Meteor 350, which is obviously Enfield's new entry-level bike. Very, very, very competitively priced, and I don't know at this stage, I'll be asking the question when I'm there, but I don't know if this is supposed to replace the Classic or is just an alternative to the Classic, because the Classic used to be available in two sizes, 350 and 500, and I haven't seen the 350 listed for sale recently. Doesn't mean it's not for sale, I've just not noticed it. So this is specifically at this point only a 350. I don't know if there's plans for a Meteor 500. At the moment it's the 350, and we'll have a look at the bike, go through the tech specs of it, go and take it for a ride. So about today on this, it's a Royal Enfield Meteor 350. It's loosely based on the chassis and engine of the old classic Bullet 500, but is quite a different bike, and it has quite a nice different character as well. So nice little lightweight cruiser, 20 horsepower, which doesn't sound much, but actually has proven to be plenty. So I've already done a few miles on this bike, not very far, but enough to get a feel for it. And there's a few things that really strike me. First of all, it's got a great steering lock, first of all, which is one of the great things when you've got a turn like this coming up. But it's got a really good steering lock, and I can do this U-turn feet up without a problem, which is great if you're a young rider or a new rider. That's going to give you a lot of confidence. But it's also just generally smooth, easy bike to ride. So I've done, not a massive distance, but a few miles on it just to get a feel for this now. So I'm going to go through, give you my impression on it. So before I go any further, a nice thank you to Cooper Motorcycles for lending me their demonstrator. Very much appreciated. And here we go. So it is a smooth, really smooth bike for a single. I was sceptical that 20 horsepower, is it really going to be enough? Is it going to be out of its depth? But actually it's really not. So it's not very heavy. Well, it doesn't feel very heavy. I've got to put the weight up, and I've got to put the weight right there because I'm not sure how heavy it is. But being a single cylinder, the weight's quite centralised, so the central gravity's nice and low, which makes it easy to manoeuvre. Now if you're a shorter rider or an older rider, this bike's going to be easy for you to manage without getting away from. So it's going to be quite comfortable and reassuring to ride. And if this is something that can either be a good introduction into your riding career or extend your riding career, that has to be a great option. Prices start from just over £3,500 on the road. It's got a 3-year warranty with 3 years assistance. That's all good stuff to have. And realistically, if you're looking at this versus second-hand mid-sized cruisers, you're going to really want to be going with a new bike. You'll know it's going to be it's not being mismaintained or badly maintained. You know it's not been a problem. You know it's not being crashed, dropped, thrashed, everything else that happens to bikes when you've got someone who you don't know that's owned it beforehand. So new is always a good option, gives you a bit of peace of mind, and especially when you're a new rider, the last thing you want to be worrying about is what was that noise, what was this, what was that, because this is a brand new bike. You're not going to be worrying about the bike, which allows you to concentrate more on your ride and enjoy it. So, specs. It is a single overhead camshaft. It is a 350cc single, making 20 bhp. It's got a counter-rotating balance shaft, which is why it's actually surprisingly smooth. Single front brake, ABS. Apologies for the but I'm recording this all off the top of my head as I ride. But yeah, single front brake, single disc rear. Brakes are nice. They're plenty powerful enough, and they're progressive, but they will stop you quickly if need be. If something pulls out, you're not going to be on the Harley-esque situation of it won't stop. It's going to stop nicely. And again, with the ABS, especially as a younger or newer rider, you can be able to grab that bike without a fear of it locking up. Tractability is good right through the rev range. There's no rev counter on it, and I'm certainly not going to be revving it like crazy because it's not my bike and it's new, so someone else is going to be owning this bike, and out of respect for them I'm not going to abuse it. But even as a new tight engine, you can tell it's going to be really nice when it's run in, and even already it is absolutely feels on the money. So one of the things that I like about single and twin cylinder bikes is because they're very torquey, you aren't constantly chasing horsepower. You're going to be able to ride and really worry about where the road's going, not finding the horsepower in the engine. So you can kind of leave them in one gear, roll them on, roll them off. I've got to say, the suspension's nice and compliant, it's comfortable. I sometimes find with cruisers, I feel like I'm leaning back and it makes my back ache, but I'm not getting that in here. It's just, the riding position's really nice, it's exactly where I'd want it to be. So what are my thoughts on this bike? I think with this type of bike, when you've got a bike that's quite heavily dominated by its style, which I suppose all bikes are to a degree, it's more a case of, is it the right bike for you than is it a good or a bad bike? Now this is definitely a good bike. It feels well built, it's smooth, it's responsive, it's easy to ride. It feels more than its horsepower suggests because being a single it's got torque on its side. And if you're looking for a cruiser, particularly if you're a new rider, an old rider or a shorter rider, or maybe you've got injuries or disabilities that mean handling a heavy bike is a problem, then this could well be the ideal thing for you. So yeah, if you're the right person for this bike, you're going to love it. But certainly I'm enjoying this. This would be a really good bike for exploring back roads. I could see us through rural France and rural Spain where the roads are all like this. I could see us being a lovely way to travel across those countries. I'm not getting any buffeting from the screen. I believe that vent down there is really helping towards that. When you've got a screen in this position, buffeting can be a real problem on them. The gear position indicator is a nice touch. It just makes you mean you're not hunting for gears that aren't there. 5-speed gearbox, nice and slicky and smooth. And one of the things I noticed when I was initially sitting on this was the heel and toe gear change, and it's one of those things that you kind of love it or hate it. Now I'm not a fan of heel and toe gear changes, and my concern, because these pegs are quite big and chunky, and my concern was I wouldn't be able to get my toe between the gear lever and the footrest to click it in and out of gear. That fear was totally unfounded, no problem at all doing that. So if you're not a fan of heel and toe gear changes, I mean I could try it, but it's easy enough to use. If you're not a fan of them, no problem, just use it as an absolutely normal gear change, you'll be absolutely fine. But yeah, around these lanes this bike's really lovely. It will sit at 60, 65 without a problem. If you're planning on doing lots of 2-up motorway, it's not going to be the bike for you, but then probably none of the single cylinder smaller bikes would be anyway. But certainly at this speed, now we're going up a little incline here, no problem at all, didn't even have to adjust the throttle, it's just pulling up on the torque. And this surface isn't the best and it's riding it perfectly comfortably. Other thing you're going to get with this compared to a used bike is that lovely feeling you get, and anyone that's owned a bike from new will recognise this. Just everything is that little bit smoother, slicker, no play. That snickiness you get with a new bike's lovely. It does sort of spoil you, make you feel a bit special. And of course, you're getting that for 3,600 or just over 3,600 on the road, which is comparable to used bikes. So yeah, I like this one. Also, not going to turn there. So there you go, that's the Royal Enfield Meteor 350. At the moment, I wasn't sure on the way over if the Classic's still available, which it is, or the Bullet, that is still available. This is basically more or less a styling option on top of that, although it does have a very different feel. And I believe it's probably a little softer suspended as well, because this is very compliant, but some of that might be down to the seat. And it's absolutely a lovely piece of kit. So thank you very much to Cooper Motorcycles for use of their demonstrator, greatly appreciated. you're looking for a Royal Enfield in the UK, go and have a look at their showroom. Even if you're not going to go and buy one, go and have a look at their showroom. It's fantastic. It's been completely revamped. 2 stories, yeah, upstairs, loads more bikes available. And I thoroughly recommend checking them out. In the meantime, once again, thank you very much, Cooperb. If you like these videos, hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you soon in another video.